The series begins with our heroine teaching in class, when suddenly a tyrannical woman bursts in and slaps her so hard across the face, it practically breaks her bones. Our heroine wakes up to the sound of her alarm, realizing it was all a dream. We learn her name is Bomb, and she works as a teacher in the countryside. She gets ready but dresses all in black because she's lonely and depressed. Standing before the mirror, she decides not to smile or talk to anyone. Indeed, she goes to work silent and frowning. She overhears her colleagues gossiping about her, saying she transferred from the city because she caused trouble, mocking her for walking like a robot. Suddenly, Bomb passes by them. They feel embarrassed because she definitely heard them, but she ignores them and keeps walking. She meets a student named June, who is famous and adored by all the girls because he's handsome and smart. He greets her, but she just nods and leaves. Inside the school, the principal holds a meeting asking them to prepare for exams. Suddenly, the secretary screams at the top of her lungs, "The gang leader is here!" The teachers are shocked and rush to the window. Our hero, Huang, appears walking through the snow. A handsome young man whose muscles have given many criminals a hard time, with a dragon tattoo on his arm. The teachers are terrified as he approaches. They start hiding, some in the bathroom, others under desks, as if they are in a war zone. Bomb is baffled by their behavior and doesn't know what to do. She feels relieved that the door is locked, but little does she know. Our hero is a beast, one of a kind. With a single punch, he smashes the door to pieces. He walks in with total confidence and asks for the science teacher. He looks for him everywhere, but the teacher is hiding under the table. The other teachers lie and say he hasn't arrived, but Huang doesn't believe them. He says he'll wait. The principal goes to talk to him, welcoming him warmly, saying, "The school is honored. You should have told us you were coming so we could roll out the red carpet." He asks the reason for his visit. Huang explains that he is June's uncle and the one who raised him like a son. He tells the principal that the science teacher refused to let June participate in the competition because he's an orphan. He's furious and wants to talk him into agreeing. Naturally, the principal gets cold feet and backs down, saying it must be a misunderstanding, promising that June will participate and even win. Huang is happy and thanks him. Before leaving, he sees Bomb, stares at her, and tells her she's beautiful. Our heroine gets flustered and doesn't know how to respond. Meanwhile, June is talking to a nerdy female classmate, inviting her to eat with him and his friends at a restaurant. He's certain she'll agree because he's handsome and every girl wants to know him, but the nerd refuses and walks away. June feels embarrassed and returns to the restaurant, but his friends tell him his uncle is at the school. Afraid of trouble, he rushes there. Later, Bomb finally talks to the teachers and asks about Huang. They start spinning tall tales. The principal tells her he's a wicked gang leader with over 100 thugs doing his bidding and extorting money. Then the secretary says, "I was walking in the woods at night and saw him digging. He must have been burying a body." The science teacher adds that he once saw him in the street carrying a large car with one hand, surely trying to steal it. When they finish, they warn her to stay away because he's a dangerous man. Bomb is shocked and decides to do just that. Suddenly, June interrupts, apologizing if his uncle caused trouble, and decides to clean up the mess. At the end of the day, our heroine returns home exhausted, but she notices her key won't open the door. She gets frustrated and throws it in the water. She goes to get a spare from the landlady, but encounters Huang on her way, wearing a cap and holding a knife. Remembering the teacher's words, she thinks he's going to kidnap her. Terrified, she tells herself, "He who fights and runs away lives to fight another day," and flees in a panic. She tries to call the police, but Huang catches up, asking why she's running. She cries, "I'm at your mercy, please don't kill me." Huang is baffled and explains that what he's holding is a shawarma, not a knife, and the tattoo on his arm is just a regular drawing. He realizes her door is stuck and decides to help. Bomb thinks he's going to break it and tries to stop him, but he ignores her, uses his strength to jump high over the gate, enters the house and opens it for her. Bomb is impressed by his skill and thanks him. Huang leaves and goes home, giving the shawarma to June because it's his favorite food. He asks about our heroine and learns she's new to the countryside. Huang has a flashback to when Bomb almost fell, and he saved her, staring into her eyes. And he's annoyed she doesn't remember him. The next day, Bomb goes to school, and the principal asks her to hold a parent-teacher meeting. She's shocked because this means she'll meet Huang. She tries to call him to cancel, but he says he agrees and will come tomorrow. Bomb is scared and doesn't know what to do. A colleague talks to her and mentions someone Huang is afraid of. She takes her to a restaurant and introduces her to the owner, an old lady with a razor-sharp tongue, so much so that even Huang can't talk back to her. Bomb decides to try talking to her, but the old lady insults her and tells her to eat in silence or she'll regret it. Our heroine is surprised and decides to learn a few insults from her to defend herself. Later, her colleague takes her to a salon to change her look, giving her a new hairstyle to look tough. Bomb thanks her. The next day, she goes to school confident, but is shocked to find all the teachers left early because they're afraid of Huang. Even her only friend abandoned her and ran. Our heroine is torn and wants to flee too, but she gathers her courage and does yoga to calm down. Time passes and Huang arrives. She's surprised he brought flowers. She thinks they're for her and thanks him, but he says they're for the classroom. Bomb feels embarrassed and asks him to sit to discuss June. She shows him his grades but gets nervous when he leans in close. She stares at him, her heart pounding. Meanwhile, June is heading home and meets his nerdy classmate. He asks why she's upset with him. She says he always ranks first over her, which makes her jealous. June laughs and gives her his number in case she needs anything. She's charmed by his personality and saves him as Handsome June. Later, Bomb goes to the classroom, but the students say the flowers are blocking their view. She decides to move them, but they're heavy. She and two teachers try to move them, and by chance, Huang passes by and sees them. He picks them up with one hand and puts them in his car. Everyone is amazed by his strength. Bomb rides with him to take the flowers to her house. On the way, she stares at his muscles and thinks, where were these muscles when I needed them? He notices her, and she feels embarrassed. Huang asks if she still doesn't remember him. She's puzzled, thinking she might owe him money and fearing he'll kidnap her. But he drops her home, puts the flowers on the roof, and asks for coffee. She lies and says she's out, so he'll leave. Later, she gets a call from her father, who apologizes and asks for forgiveness, but she cries and hangs up. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. It's Huang with lots of coffee because she said she ran out. He notices she's been crying and gives her sweets to cheer her up. Our heroine is touched by his kindness and feels guilty for lying. She realizes he's a good person and changes her mind about him. But later, on her way to school, she sees him leaving the police station with many men. She's shocked, thinking he really is a gang leader, and runs away. He sees her and realizes she misunderstood. He waits for her after school, tells her he works at a power plant, and invites her to see it. Bomb is nervous but agrees on the condition that June comes along. They agree to meet tomorrow. The next day, she wears all black to look intimidating. When she goes out, she finds him exercising in front of the house. She gets in his car. On the way, he mocks her look, saying, "Are you going to a funeral or what?" Suddenly, June gets a call from the nerdy girl and learns she's in trouble. He decides to help, leaves them, and goes to the bus station. When he arrives, she blames him. "It's your fault because you always rank first, and my parents pressure me, so I decided to run away to the city." June is shocked. He thought she was taken, but he refuses to abandon her and decides to go with her to look after her. Meanwhile, our leads enter a restaurant that turns out to be the old lady's. She starts insulting Huang for no reason. Bomb is amused and laughs at him, ordering chicken because she loves it. She asks what he was doing at the police station. Huang tells her he lifted a car in the street so the fire truck could pass, but the owner thought he was stealing it and called the police. Bomb is surprised and realizes she wronged him and the rumors are false. She decides to leave because it's late, but notices his face is covered in hives. She learns he's allergic to chicken and feels guilty. She applies ointment to treat him. Huang gets nervous because she's close and tries to control his feelings. He picks up the chair she's sitting on and starts swinging her in it like a game. Our heroine is happy and has a lovely time. Suddenly, June calls and says he went with his classmate because she ran away. Bomb is shocked and decides to bring her back. But realizing they are in the city, she gets nervous as she remembers her past. We learn she was a popular and successful teacher until a fateful day when a student's father got her number and kept harassing her. When she refused to talk to him, he decided to ruin her, spreading a rumor that she was the one chasing him. Because of this, his wife went to the school and slapped her in front of all the students. Unfortunately, no one believed her. She was transferred to the countryside, and her life was ruined. She's been having this nightmare every day. Bomb snaps out of her memories, gathers her courage, and decides to face her fear and go to the city with him. They reach the subway station where the nerd is and split up to find her. Our heroine succeeds but sees her standing with an older young man and getting on the subway. She calls Huang. He reassures her he'll meet them at the next station. Bomb is baffled because it's impossible for him to catch up. But little does she know, our hero is faster than a dragon. He summons his inner spirit of the leopard and runs through the streets at full speed. He reaches the station in record time but finds workers protesting. He has to jump high over them and sees the subway doors closing, but manages to slip in at the last moment. Bomb is stunned. She almost falls, but he catches and hugs her. Because of this moment, Bomb remembers she has seen him before. She realizes he's the young man who saved her long ago. They stare at each other, feeling embarrassed, and decide to catch the nerd. Huang catches the young man with her, but is surprised to see he was a friend from school. Bomb thinks he's a harasser and grabs his clothes to teach him a lesson, but he says she has it wrong. The girl is his little sister, and her parents know she's with him. Our leads feel embarrassed. Bomb is relieved she's safe, leaves her, and returns to the countryside with Huang. On the way, June apologizes for the trouble, but Bomb thanks him for staying with his classmate, asking if they are close friends. June stays silent, clearly having a crush. Suddenly, Huang stops the car saying it's late and he can't drive in the dark. He takes them to a hotel, but the clerk says there's only one room left. Our heroine refuses because she's afraid of him, but Huang tries to convince her, saying they just need to sleep. Bomb has no choice and agrees, telling herself, "What's the worst that could happen?" But when she enters the room, she finds flowers on the bed and realizes it's a honeymoon suite. Embarrassed, she rushes to throw the flowers away. They start politely arguing over who should use the bathroom first until June says, "Neither of you, I'm going in," and leaves them alone. Huang seizes the opportunity to exercise and asks her to sit on his back so he can train, but she refuses. She goes to hold his legs for another exercise. Suddenly, Huang gets close. They stare at each other bashfully. Bomb feels embarrassed, tells him he shouldn't exercise in the room, and asks him to go to the gym. Huang reluctantly listens, but forgets his phone. Our heroine goes to return it, but sees a small child falling into the pool. Fearing he'll drown, she screams for help. Luckily, Huang hears her, dives in, and saves him just in time. But the child sees a shark on a screen and gets scared of Huang, starting to cry. When his mother arrives, he says Huang wanted to kidnap him. The mother is furious and slaps him. Our heroine is shocked, remembering what happened to her. She yells at Huang for not defending himself, but he says the important thing is the child is safe. She insists on getting him justice and takes the mother to the security cameras. The mother sees he saved her son, feels embarrassed for wronging him, and apologizes. Huang is happy. He takes our heroine back to the room. Before sleeping, he stares at her and says she's as beautiful as the stars. Bomb hears him and nervously asks if he means her, but realizes he's looking out the window talking about the city. She feels embarrassed and tells herself, just go to sleep and forget it. The next day, they return to the countryside. Bomb decides to forget what happened, but is surprised he's waiting for her on the road to return her headphones. She takes them and rushes into school, but her nosy colleague sees them and thinks he's stalking her. She tells her to call the police, but Bomb defends him, explaining he's a kind person and the rumors are false. The proof is how he raises and cares for June, even though he's his nephew. But the colleague says June might actually be his son, telling her she saw him in the street with a woman talking about a child. Our heroine is shocked, thinking he's a player. Later, the nerd returns to school. June talks to her and gives her summaries, promising to help her defeat him and rank first. She's surprised and asks why. June gets nervous and hides his feelings, lying, "I'm bored and want a challenge," then leaves. At night, Bomb is heading home, but sees Huang breaking a manhole cover. She's shocked, thinking he's smuggling contraband. She confronts him, threatening to report him, but learns he did it to save a small puppy. She apologizes and is charmed by his kindness. She goes with him to the vet to check the puppy. He notices it's cold, takes off his shirt, and covers it to keep it warm. Naturally, the doctor is impressed by his muscles and stares at him. Our heroine feels jealous and tells him, "Put your clothes on and cover yourself." Meanwhile, the nerd leaves school, but it's raining. She's worried about her clothes, but suddenly June gives her an umbrella, saying his house is near, and leaves. She's afraid he'll catch a cold, grabs his hand, and insists they share it. They walk together. Later, our leads go to a restaurant after saving the puppy. The owner thinks they are a couple and says they look good together. Bomb feels embarrassed. Out of the blue, she asks him to meet tomorrow alone because she wants to tell him something important. Huang is surprised, thinking she's going to confess her feelings, telling himself, "She laughed, which means she's fallen for me." He agrees. The next day, he waits for her at the agreed spot. Bomb arrives wearing a beautiful dress and waves at him, smiling. Our hero is captivated by her beauty, his eyes practically turning into hearts. Bomb treats him to a meal at a restaurant, bringing the food he likes and feeding him with her own hands, even putting a bib on him so he doesn't ruin his clothes. Huang is puzzled by her attention. At the end of the day, they walk together. He gathers his courage and asks why she went out with him, thinking she'll confess. But she says, "I remembered what you did for me long ago when you saved me, and I wanted to thank you and return the favor." Huang is shocked and has a flashback to a year ago. He was at a restaurant with his men, and saw our heroine drinking alone. He felt sorry for her, noticed her nodding off, and rushed to support her. He sat with her to keep her company and fed her himself. When she left, she was dizzy and unconscious, crossing the road without looking. A car was about to hit her, but our hero arrived in time and saved her. Staring into her eyes, clearly smitten, he snaps out of his memories, feeling disappointed because he thought she liked him back. Bomb thanks him and says goodbye, but he asks about what happened in the city that made her lonely and depressed. Bomb gets nervous and tells him not to interfere in her life because they aren't friends. She's just his nephew's teacher. She leaves and Huang is saddened. The next day, our heroine wakes up and stands on the balcony to breathe, but is surprised by a bee. She gets scared and runs. In the street, she meets the nerd's brother by chance. He hugs her and reassures her he'll protect her, but the bee stings his head. Bomb feels guilty, takes him home, and applies a medical patch. He's charmed by her kindness, thanks her, and gives her his card, revealing he's a lawyer and telling her to call if she needs anything. Later, Huang is upset and decides to text our heroine to apologize, but fears she won't reply and changes his mind. He goes to the club to train and vent his negative emotions. By chance, he finds the teachers who spread rumors about him. He seizes the opportunity to teach them a lesson, asking them to attack him. One of them tries, poor guy, thinking he's a softie, not knowing he's a beast. Huang stands his ground, and when it's his turn, he knocks him down, giving him a boom, pow, oof beating, sending him flying. Later, our heroine is afraid of bees and can't leave the house. Suddenly, the bell rings. She finds a masked person who's there to help. She takes him to the roof, and he succeeds in removing the beehive. Bomb is happy and asks him to cut the tree. Indeed, he does, but it almost falls on her. Luckily, he catches her just in time. Our heroine is surprised by his strength, sees the tattoo on his arm, and realizes it's Huang. She's angry he deceived her and gives him money for the service, asking him to leave. Huang is saddened because he just wanted to help. He takes the tree and walks through the street. Everyone is afraid of him. The next day, he attends a meeting at school. The principal announces a sports festival where parents will participate. Huang is surprised to see his lawyer friend there and feels he wants to steal our heroine from him. He challenges him to win the festival. They split into two teams. Huang is the captain of the white team. He takes the students to the beach and trains them to increase their strength. On the other side, the lawyer is the captain of the blue team and starts giving gifts and food to students to motivate them. The day of the competition arrives. The two teams stand facing each other. Bomb arrives. No one knows which team she'll choose, but she takes off her jacket to reveal a white t-shirt, telling our hero she's joining his team and cheering him on. The first round begins, a relay race. Bomb is first and runs at full speed to beat her opponent. Huang cheers her on. She succeeds in reaching her teammate and passes the baton, but is shocked it's an old lady who is very slow. Luckily, she reaches June and passes him the baton. Despite being behind, he succeeds in overtaking his opponent because he's fast and agile. But when he goes to pass the baton to his teammate, he throws it far away to stall himself. He did this so his nerdy classmate could win and be happy. Indeed, his plan works. The nerd runs fast, reaches the finish line, and wins the first round. She celebrates with her team. Bomb is saddened and disappointed because she wanted to win. She talks to Huang, asking him to participate in the next challenge, even kneeling and pleading with him to help. Our hero is torn because June asked him to lose on purpose. The second round begins, tug-of-war. The blue team is certain they'll win because they have more people. But suddenly Huang arrives, confident. His team is thrilled because he's strong. They get fired up and decide to give it their all. The lawyer is scared but doesn't give up, using his intelligence to encourage his team and give tips. The game starts. The teams are equal in strength. The lawyer has a flashback. Students were bullying him in school, but Huang defended him, beat them up, and warned them to never touch him again. The lawyer was charmed by his personality, thanked him, and they agreed to be friends. He snaps out of his memories, saddened that they are now competing. He's determined to defeat him and win our heroine's heart because he's used to always being first. But little does he know, our boy Huang is also tough. He decides to use his skill, pulls the rope with all his might, knocks them all down, and wins the challenge. Bomb is overjoyed, rushes to him, and hugs him, celebrating together. Then comes the final game, the tiebreaker. They have to break a box hanging in the air. All students throw balls at it. Unfortunately, the blue team was about to win, but Huang decides to participate to make Bomb happy. He grabs 3 balls, throws them with all his might, and succeeds in breaking the box. The team rejoices, cheering and chanting his name. The nerd is sad because she lost and starts crying. June sees her and feels sorry for her. When he returns home, he blames our hero for what he did, confessing he likes the nerd and wanted to lose to see her smile. He takes the gold medal and goes to give it to her, trying to comfort her, asking her to focus on exams to defeat him and rank first. He brings her cake to cheer her up. She's surprised by his care and asks if he likes her. June gets nervous and can't answer. Meanwhile, our leads go to the vet and learn the puppy is better. They start arguing because both want to adopt it. They agree Bomb will take it and Huang will visit twice a week. When they return home, our hero decides to build a small house for the dog on the roof. Bomb is happy and thanks him. They take the dog for a walk in the park. On the way, Huang asks why she treats him coldly and always runs away. Our heroine gets nervous and confesses she's afraid of getting used to him. She has a flashback. A student's father misunderstood her because she was kind. He went to her house at night, but she refused to open, threatening to call the police. Because of that, he got angry and ruined her reputation. Back to the present, she tells him, "Since then, I made a vow not to laugh or joke with any parent so they don't misunderstand me." Huang is surprised and sympathizes with her. He asks, "If June wasn't your student, would you have dated me?" Bomb is nervous but says yes. Our hero is thrilled and says he'll wait for June to graduate, then they'll be together. He promises not to talk to other girls. When he returns home, he stands before the mirror and decides to treat Bomb formally in front of people to avoid causing her trouble at school. The next day, our heroine is heading home, but sees Huang sitting with a girl in a restaurant. She's shocked to see the girl holding his hands. Bomb feels jealous, thinking he was deceiving her. She pretends not to care and returns home upset. She stands before the mirror and decides to change her look to be prettier than the girl Huang was with, making him regret lying to her. The next day she goes to school confident. Huang is stunned when he sees her, dazzled by her beauty, thinking she's an angel from heaven. He can't resist her beauty and runs away to the field, working there to stop thinking about her. At night he finds her standing in front of the house, unable to enter because of the key. She asks him to help and jump over the gate, but he gets lost in her beauty, looking at her with eyes full of love. He decides to flee because he promised to wait until June graduates. When he returns home, he asks June if it's okay to transfer schools. But June refuses because he doesn't want to leave the nerd. The next day, the lawyer meets Bomb and offers to help her file a lawsuit against the woman who slapped her to get her rights back. She's afraid the matter will blow up and she'll be exposed. She thanks him and says she'll think about it. When she returns home, she finds the police there and is shocked that they arrested Huang because they thought he wanted to rob the house. He tries to defend himself, saying he's not the thief. When he gets out, he sees a delivery man standing outside and realizes he was the one trying to rob the house. The man flees on a motorcycle at full speed, thinking he escaped. But our hero doesn't give up, chases him, corners him, breaks the handcuffs off his hands, and approaches him furiously. He gives him a boom, pow, where does it hurt? Beating, knocking him down and breaking his bones. But the police arrest him again and take him to the station. There we learn the man was actually fixing the door, and when our hero saw him, he thought he was a thief. Bomb gets angry and talks to him. "You can't always use your muscles." She asks him to think first, then act. Huang feels embarrassed, apologizes, and promises not to be reckless again. At night they walk together, but he notices she's treating him coldly. He asks why. Bomb tells him she saw him with the girl in the restaurant and cries, thinking he's a liar and a player. Huang is moved by her words and tells her she misunderstood. He calms her, wipes her tears, and apologizes because he can't wait until June graduates and must break his promise. He confesses his love, gets close to her, and gives her a taste of raisins. He has a flashback. That girl is his sister. She came to him with a baby and asked him to keep him until she returned. Unfortunately, she abandoned him and never came back. Since then, our hero decided to raise him, named him June, and lied to him, saying his parents died. Huang snaps out of his memories and asks Bomb to trust him, saying he'll explain everything in time. She's nervous about what he did, enters the house bashfully, and asks him not to do that again and keep his promise until June graduates. Huang agrees but asks her for one date for one day. Our heroine comes out and says she agrees. Our hero is thrilled. The next day he walks through the village happy and dancing. Everyone is baffled, thinking he got sunstroke. Later, Bomb goes to school and eats with her colleagues, but hears them talking about Huang, calling him a thief and a gang leader. She gets angry that they are wronging him and tells them it was a misunderstanding and he was cleared. They are surprised by her tone and ask why she's defending him. Our heroine gets nervous, fearing they'll know they love each other, and pretends to be busy. But her nosy colleague follows her and says, "I saw Huang entering your house, asking if they are dating in secret." Bomb lies and says he was visiting the dog, adding, "If he were the last man on Earth, I wouldn't look at him." She leaves and takes the students on a trip to the power plant. When she arrives, she looks for Huang and is shocked to see him standing atop a high tower. As soon as he sees her, he rappels down with confidence. The students are amazed by his bravery and cheer for him. Our heroine is proud of him, but pretends she doesn't know him. Huang takes them on a tour. At the end of the day, Bohm decides to meet the head of the plant to thank him. She goes to his office but discovers it's our hero. She's shocked because she thought he was just a worker. She admires him even more because he's handsome and rich. Huang decides to treat them to lunch, takes them to the park, and cooks for them himself. He sees Bohm standing alone and goes to her. June seizes the opportunity and offers food to the nerd, but she rejects it and even returns his summaries, saying her brother will study with her. June is saddened, realizing she did this because he refused to confess his feelings. Later, Huang goes to our heroine and asks if something is wrong. She tells him her colleagues suspected her, and she's afraid their relationship will be discovered, suggesting they cancel the date. But Huang refuses and promises to choose a place where no one will see them. They agree to meet tomorrow. Bomb is happy and says she'll wait, but as soon as it's 12 a.m., he's at her door saying, "Our day has started." He takes her to the beach, prepares the food she likes, and they watch the sunrise. Bomb is happy and feels safe, sleeping on his shoulder. Suddenly, the villagers arrive at the beach for morning exercises. Our heroine is scared and hides under the blanket so no one sees her. But they go and sit next to Huang, finishing his food. When they leave, our hero apologizes and says he'll make it up to her. He takes her to a remote restaurant in the mountains, reassuring her no one from the village goes there. But when they arrive, they are shocked to see the school principal there. Our leads get nervous and pretend they met by chance, sitting far apart. When they finish, they decide to go to the amusement park, thinking no one will see them. But Bomb is shocked to find her nosy colleague there. Terrified, she takes Huang into the haunted house to hide. They stand in the zombie closet. Her colleague looks for her, but when she opens it, she finds a zombie in her face. She's terrified and flees. Our leads are relieved they are safe and decide to exit through the back door. Bomb is sad their date was ruined, but our hero takes her to the park, puts her on the swing, and pushes her to cheer her up. They play, laugh, and have a lovely time. At the end of the day, he gives her a gift and says goodbye. But before she leaves, he runs to her and hugs her, asking her to wait until June graduates to be together publicly. Suddenly, a teacher passes by and sees them, realizing they are dating in secret. Our heroine is terrified and asks him not to tell anyone. But Huang says, "Be quiet, I'll handle this." He approaches him furiously. The teacher is scared, thinking he'll hit him, but our hero kneels and pleads with him to keep their secret. The teacher is happy and decides to take advantage of them, asking Bohm to do his work and making Huang carry his bag. Both are forced to listen to him. The next day, our heroine goes to school and finds her nosy colleague waiting, asking if she went to the amusement park with someone. Bomb is nervous, fearing her secret is out, but the teacher helps her, saying he was the one with her. Our heroine is thrilled he saved her and thanks him. After school, she walks the dog, but meets the girl who was with Huang in the restaurant, not knowing she's his sister. The girl taunts her, telling her to ask Huang about her. Bomb is furious, thinking she's an old flame, and decides to find out for herself. Meanwhile, June is at school trying to talk to the nerd, but she ignores him. He's puzzled and decides to buy her a gift to make up. He tries to ask his friends, but no one helps. Suddenly, the principal enters and asks them to prepare for exams. June gets an idea. He'll let the nerd rank first to make her happy. At night, Huang returns home but finds Bomb waiting. He's happy, thinking she missed him, and opens his arms saying, "Can't stay away from me that much?" But she's furious and asks about the girl she met. Huang is shocked and decides to tell her everything. He has a flashback to 20 years ago. His sister returned home with a baby, but her father was furious and wanted to kill her because he didn't know the father. Huang prevented him and helped her escape. Later, his sister asked him to keep the baby, promising she'd travel to the city to work and provide for him. Unfortunately, she abandoned him and only returned for the inheritance. Huang snaps out of his memories and apologizes to our heroine for hiding the truth, saying, "I was afraid June would know his mother left him and his heart would break, so I told him his parents died in a fire." Bomb is moved, but tells him June has the right to know his mother is alive. Suddenly, June arrives. Huang changes the subject. When June enters, he asks if he could ever be mad at him. June laughs and says it's impossible because he considers him his whole family. Our hero feels guilty for lying and decides to tell him the truth after exams. Suddenly, a strong storm hits the village, and the power goes out everywhere except at Huang's because he uses solar energy. All the villagers decide to stay at his place. The house turns from a quiet place into a crowded camp. Our hero notices Bomb isn't there and gets worried. He gets dressed and goes to look for her. Meanwhile, Bomb is looking for something she lost. She finds it, but the storm is fierce. Suddenly, a large sign falls toward her. She's terrified, thinking this is the end, and closes her eyes. Later, June enters his room to change, but his nerdy classmate is hiding there. She's embarrassed and tries to close her eyes, but trips and falls on top of him. June laughs and decides to leave her the room and sleep on the couch. Later, Bomb wakes up and is surprised the lawyer saved her. He takes her to Huang's house. When she arrives, our hero is waiting and furious, blaming her for risking her life for something she lost. Bomb is saddened and leaves the house crying. Our hero feels guilty, goes after her, and asks what she was looking for. Bomb shows him his gift, saying it's precious because he gave it to her. Huang is moved and says, "I can get you 1,000 gifts, but I couldn't bear it if the sign had fallen on you." Our heroine is puzzled. "How did you know?" Huang gets nervous and remembers the storm. It turns out he was the one who saved her, not the lawyer, and he even risked his life to catch the sign before it hit her. Bomb is shocked as she didn't know. She apologizes for risking his life. When she learns his shoulder hurts, she kisses his cheek so it gets better. He says, "Wait, my heart hurts too," gets close to her, and gives her a taste of raisins. They return home happy but are shocked to find June waiting with the inheritance papers. He found out his mother is alive. He's furious and asks Huang why he lied. Our hero gets nervous and asks him to calm down so he can explain everything. But the lawyer and the nerd come out at the noise. June leaves them and enters the house. The next day he stays silent, doesn't talk to anyone, and refuses to eat with our leads, heading to school. The nerd notices he's not himself, talks to him, and tries to cheer him up, offering to go out after school, but he apologizes and says he's busy. Later, our hero decides to cook for the villagers himself, making lots of food. Bomb goes to help him, but the restaurant owner sees them together and exposes them, saying in front of everyone that they are dating. Also, the teacher who saw them tells everyone they were hugging in the park. Our leads feel embarrassed and don't know what to do. Suddenly, the nerd arrives and tells our hero that June traveled to the city alone. Huang is shocked and realizes he went to find his mother, rushing to catch him. June reaches his mother's house, hesitant to face her after all these years. He's afraid and decides to leave, but she senses him and opens the door. When she sees him, she rushes to hug him and takes him to a restaurant. There, June asks why she was away. His mother lies. "I was poor and had no money. I had to travel to work. When I returned, I tried to meet you, but Huang prevented me, so I decided to sacrifice and stay away." June isn't convinced. "Students envied me for being first, but I envied them for having a father and mother." His mother pretends to be moved, promises to make it up to him, and orders the food he likes. When they finish, she asks him to return to the village to our hero, agreeing to meet every week until she buys a house for them to live together. June is happy and agrees. He leaves happy but remembers he doesn't have her number. He goes back to get it and hears her talking to Huang on the phone. He understands that Huang was the one who asked her to treat him well and lied to him in exchange for giving her his inheritance. June is devastated by what he heard, realizing he was deceived by her and that she only returned for the inheritance, not for him. He walks away disappointed and sits by the sea. Suddenly, the nerd appears with the food he likes, saying she wanted to return the favor for sleeping in his room. She sits and eats with him, trying to comfort him, saying he's handsome and everyone loves him. It doesn't matter about his mother. He looks at her and says, "There's someone else who doesn't love me." The nerd understands he means her and decides to confess. "I was always trying to defeat you and stay away, but without realizing it, I liked you more and more until I fell in love with you." June is thrilled. He also tells her he loves her, asking her to be his girlfriend. The nerd feels embarrassed and agrees. They sit together all night, having a lovely time. At the end of the day, June decides to return home. He finds our hero waiting and worried. He eats with him and doesn't tell him he knows the truth, thanking him for everything he did. He tells him he decided to keep living with him and also that he started dating the nerd. Huang is happy and says, "Attaboy, just like your uncle." The next day, our heroine goes to school, but hears the teachers talking about her relationship with Huang. This time, she gathers her courage and decides to face them, telling the principal she did nothing wrong and has the right to be with the person she loves. Her nosy colleague admires her words, encourages her, and tells her to live her life as she wants. Bomb thanks her. When she leaves school, she finds Huang waiting. He asks if she wants to stay away until the rumors die down, but she refuses and grabs his hand, deciding to walk with him in front of everyone. For the first time, they go on a date without fear. They go everywhere they wanted, walk on the beach, and take photos together. Later, they sit in a restaurant and eat while holding hands, having a lovely time. At the end of the day, he drops her home, but she doesn't want to let go of his hand. He decides to enter her room, and she still doesn't want him to leave. They stare at each other, and Huang decides to stay the night with her, getting close to her. The next day, he wakes up next to her and doesn't want to disturb her. Meanwhile, our heroine's mother learns she's dating someone from the countryside and gets furious, deciding to go to the village to convince her to leave him. But when she arrives, she gets lost. A garage appears before her. She decides to pass it, but gets into an accident and the car flips. She tries to get out, but can't, losing hope and thinking this is the end. Suddenly, Huang smashes the door and saves her. He takes her to his house to look after her. There, the mother sees many awards and admires his personality, thanking him and calling him a hero. At night, Bomb takes the dog and goes to give him a surprise. She sees someone sleeping on the couch and pulls the blanket, but is shocked it's her mother. Both are baffled. The mother realizes this is the young man she's dating and gets furious, asking her to break up. Bomb refuses and tells her not to interfere in her life. Huang arrives and tries to calm them, but is shocked that the mother changed her treatment of him. After calling him a hero, she now calls him a thug and a gang leader. She pays him for the food and sleep and leaves the house. She goes to the lawyer and decides to stay with him until she discovers the truth about Huang and whether he's a good person or just after her daughter. At night, our heroine is sleeping but dreams of the woman who slapped her. She wakes up terrified and decides to increase her strength to defend herself. She goes to train with Huang at the club. There, our hero starts teaching her dangerous moves to become a professional in martial arts. Bomb keeps imitating his moves but trips and almost falls. Naturally, Huang catches and hugs her. They stare at each other. Her mother is watching them. The lawyer sees her and asks her to leave them be, but she refuses, saying Huang will turn her daughter into a criminal. The lawyer decides to enter and talk to her, but our heroine, feeling someone behind her, thinks it's Huang and decides to try the moves she learned. She grabs him by the neck and knocks him to the ground, breaking his bones, but is shocked it's the lawyer. She feels embarrassed and apologizes. Later, June and the nerd decide to go on a date to the cinema. They watch a horror movie. The nerd pretends to be scared, getting close and trying to hold his hands. But June feels embarrassed, pulls away, and gives her a toy doll to hug for comfort. The nerd is furious that her plan failed but doesn't give up. When they leave, she pretends she's falling. June catches and holds her hands. She's happy and decides to walk with him. But because she's unlucky, her parents pass by chance and see them, yelling at her for skipping her lesson. They ask her to study hard to defeat the classmate who always ranks first. June decides to defend her, introducing himself as the nerdy classmate, encouraging her and saying, "I'm sure she'll defeat me and rank first this year because she worked hard." The nerd is thrilled by his words and admires him more. The next day, our heroine's mother decides to follow Huang to watch him, but she crosses the road without looking and almost gets into an accident. Huang catches her in time, but unfortunately, the car hits him instead. He falls to the ground and faints. The mother takes him to the hospital. When Bomb finds out, she goes to check on him, hearing the teacher say his condition is critical and he might slip into a coma. She cries, holds his hand, and begs him to stay and not leave her. But suddenly he wakes up stretching. It turns out he was just sleeping. The doctor arrives with the x-rays and upon examining him, tells them his body is superhuman and he has no injuries. Bomb is happy he's fine, but says she'll report the woman who was stalking him to the police. Huang stops her and reveals it was her mother. Boom is surprised and apologizes to Huang. She tells him about the fight with her mother, who believed the rumors regarding her relationship with a student's guardian. Huang is moved by her words. He realizes how much she has suffered and encourages her to file a lawsuit to reclaim her rights. He takes her to a lawyer, but they find her mother there. They overhear the lawyer telling her that Huang was the reason for his father's death. Boom is shocked by what she hears. Huang remains silent, unable to defend himself, but our heroine trusts him. That night, she sits with him and asks if what was said is true. Our hero decides to tell her the truth. In a flashback, he recalls returning home to find it on fire. He rushed in to save Jun and managed to reach him just in time before the door collapsed. However, he saw his father injured and surrounded by flames on all sides. Unfortunately, he had to leave him and get out because he feared for Jun's life. He finishes his story feeling guilty, blaming himself for not being able to save him. He shows her the scar on his hand and tells her that he got a tattoo to hide it. Boom is touched by his words. She tries to comfort him and ease his pain. She asks him to forgive himself because it wasn't his fault, assuring him that she will stay by his side no matter what because she loves him. Huang is happy to hear this and thanks her. The next day, our heroine goes to school and finds out the exam results are out. She is surprised that Jun left many questions blank. She finds it strange since he is the smartest student and always comes in first. Sensing he did it on purpose, she decides to talk to him. He confesses that he wanted his hard-working female classmate to rank first because he loves her and wants to make her happy. Boom is surprised but blames him for being unfair to himself. She tells him that if his classmate found out, she would be upset. Jun gets scared, apologizes, and asks her to keep it a secret between them. Boom has to agree. When she goes to class to distribute the grades, the top student is surprised that she finally ranked first. She is overjoyed and can't believe it, while her classmates cheer and chant her name. Jun decides to invite her to a restaurant to celebrate. He brings her the food she loves, and they have a wonderful time. Suddenly, a teacher enters the restaurant, forcing our protagonist to hide. However, they overhear him talking about Jun, saying he intentionally answered the exam questions incorrectly. The girl is shocked. She realizes she didn't earn the top spot through her own effort. Jun tries to apologize, but she doesn't give him a chance. She leaves him and walks away in sadness. At night, Huang goes to Boom's place and decides to cook for her himself. He takes her to the kitchen and starts making her favorite food. Boom is happy and tries to imitate him, but she drops the food and almost ruins everything. Huang laughs at her and tells her to sit aside because she's acting like a goof. When he finishes, they eat together, and she loves the food. They keep joking and laughing, having a great time. But as they say, nothing lasts forever. The next day, an article spreads, claiming she is dating a student's guardian, and the rumors start all over again. Afterward, our hero wakes up to find she isn't home. He learns she returned to the city and feels guilty for not being able to protect her. Meanwhile, we see Boom sitting with her family, apologizing for the trouble she caused them. She decides to listen to them and travel abroad. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. It's Huang. He tells them he met the journalist who published the article and made him delete it. He encourages Boom and asks her to trust herself because she did nothing wrong. Moved by his words, she decides to return to the village with him. During this time, Jun goes to talk to his classmate. He apologizes, saying he didn't mean to deceive her and asks for her forgiveness. However, she refuses because he embarrassed her in front of the teachers since she didn't rank first by her own merit. She decides to break up with him and asks him to stay away. Later, our protagonist returned to the village. Boom is nervous and scared, but Huang reassures her that he is by her side and won't let anyone bully her. Boom thanks him and enters the school. She talks to her students about the rumors, telling them she is innocent. Everyone empathizes with her, believes her, and decides to defend her. At the end of the day, Boom leaves and finds Huang waiting. They walk together through the market, and he is surprised to see all the locals supporting her, offering gifts and food. Boom is touched by their kindness and thanks them. When they return home, Huang continues to take care of her, feeding her with his own hand. He decides to take her out to cheer her up and takes her in his car. He starts teaching her how to drive. Of course, our heroine is quite the genius and almost causes an accident, but he tells her that 1,000 cars are worth her safety, she can break them, and he will fix them. He buys a new camera and keeps taking pictures with her to make new memories. They spend a lovely time together. A week later, the final exam results come out. Jun and the top student go to check their grades after everyone put in their best effort. The girl is surprised that she ranked first, but this time, it was through her own hard work. She is happy she finally beat him. Jun feels jealous and pretends to be upset, telling her not to talk to him until he studies and takes the first spot back. She laughs, they make up, and their relationship improves. The next day, our heroine wakes up to go to school but finds the lawyer waiting. He tells her he filed the lawsuit as she requested. Boom is surprised to find she won the case. The court proved her innocence and ordered the woman who slapped her to apologize and pay compensation. She is happy that her rights are finally restored and everyone knows she was wronged. She takes the legal paper and starts showing it to the villagers with confidence. When she returns home, she picks up the gift Huang gave her and finally decides to open it. She is excited but surprised to find it empty. She gets angry and goes looking for him until she finds him standing by the sea in a suit. She asks why he gave her an empty gift. Then Huang decides to give her the real gift. He pulls a ring from his pocket, kneels on the ground, tells her he loves her, and asks her to marry him. He promises to protect her and make her the happiest person in the world. Our heroine is overjoyed that she finally found the man who will make up for everything she went through. She puts on the ring and tells him she accepts. Huang picks her up and spins her around. They decide to get married and spend their lives together in happiness. Their story ends happily ever after.